So next up, we actually have Jason's son, Joshua.
And it's pages for selling your books.
Thanks very much for being here and joining us tonight, and I guess being willing to share things which are still quite personal for you as well. Uh, we'll get straight into it, I guess. Did you have any inkling that your dad was gay when you were growing up?
Oh, okay, it seems to work now. I don't know really. It's sort of, guess growing up, dad was dad, and that's the classic cliche. He's who is, I didn't know anything else. He took me to footy, went to the Swans match with Hugh, went to art and theatre. I was more about being a modern person, I guess, trying to have all, not just sport, but theatre and arts and music. But I guess it wasn't really, it wouldn't make a difference if I knew when I was born, to if I knew when I found out about Halloween 2015. So I guess it doesn't really matter to me in a way. That's what it is.
Yep. So you were told just after your HSC exams finished. How was the process of being told? And what were your kind of immediate and then medium-term reactions?
I sort of a bit of context. So yeah, so got told after HSC, obviously with the information that mum and we sort of worked out that they were telling me a couple months prior. So about the trials for people who know the exam timetable for high school students, but then waited for me to not to derail me completely. What's the question? Let's go with a question here. Yeah, so I sort of got told, sort of mum and dad took me sort of to study, sort of like, we've got something important to tell you. I actually didn't know what it was, sort of came along, didn't know I was in trouble or something good happened, got a free car, something like that. I really hoping for the car, to be honest. First I got told, it's sort of shock, you know, it's not really the thing that immediately comes to mind when the parents say, come, we have to have a talk. But I knew that just from what I'd learned, even the limited stuff with my school, being who my school was, that you sort of, you know, it's a hard truth to tell. Even if you come out at my age, whereas you've been in a relationship, you had kids, and you actually got to say, actually, got to call it quits. I got to be myself. I be who I really am, and sort of I respected that in a way. So I said to Dad that I'm gonna love him no matter what. He's had to tell me this really hard thing to do. This guy, so I still got to process the thing, but I'm not going to change my opinion of him. I'm not going to think any less or worse of him. But also, I'll need my time to think about that. But I'm not going to be a bad way. Just it's big news like anything else. And then yeah, I was going to England in about 2 months. So I just had my time to process and use the time in England, to be honest, just to process that. It's still taking me a while to process. Like, it's still big news. Obviously, we had a plan for the split that was meant to happen when I was overseas, but then I had some changes. And then came back and sort of now just sort of getting through the day, sort of learning what my new identity was, but my new, like, sort of new family. We had two separate houses. Mum's over somewhere, Dad's over somewhere else. New address, new house, new environment, and for someone who really likes routines, coming home, not to my house was hard. And then so just sort of talking to Dad, learning, and just taking my time to process. That's what really helped me through.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, at least, how it's almost the mirror image of the more typical situation where a parent is telling a child who's come out to them, I still love you anyway. So it's nice to see it works in the other direction. Speaking of which, if you had a friend or someone who came up to you now who said, I've just found out that my dad is gay, what advice would you be giving them?
I think it's sort of the same, would you say, if anyone, regardless of who your relationship is with, if it's your parents, your best mate, a guy who you just met at the pub last night, whatever it is, it's a big step. They've shown a lot of trust in you, that they tell this big thing even in 2023, where we are. And I was talking to one of my people, my former co-workers, who I found out he told his dad came out slightly similar, but a bit earlier on, and when he was in childhood. And it's it's only just the parent, whomever it is, has decided to. They had to do this for themselves, and it's not going to change who they are. That's who they were before, are, and still. And it's to say that's who they are. I want to say my relationship is be a bit slightly different, but there's nothing wrong with being different.
In the last 4 or 5 years in particular, your dad's been involved in a lot of advocacy around the religious discrimination bill and other public debates. How has that been for you, in the context of those debates? Has that had an impact? Have you seen it have an impact on him?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the media. So you've got the same-sex marriage plebiscite. So the law got kicked down the road, and finally happened that. And then sort of going into a slight politicised cinema about how the Conservatives were then railed against everything else in retaliation for a yes vote coming through. I sort of see that he's not only trying to make up for lost time, but use his experience through business, through his contracts to sort of do what he can as a man of his position to help those who couldn't help themselves, whether it's being for trans rights, normal gay community, LGBTI people in the church, sort of saying that he's now utilising his experience, whether someone who's coming with all this sort of, experience, this nous, for lack of a better word, to help respond to that. And I think that's good. I also think this needs to make sure he has time to himself, that in honesty, like he tried to sort of do a bit of running first before some walking. I think he's learned that now. And also he's like, there are other battles to take. There'll be battles to come, and I think just making sure you have yourself first, which he's learned now, and then the other people to help out. And there's a whole saying about the choir that everyone's singing the same tone. You can have a breath, and the sounds came to the same, and that's what you need to do. To taking the breath, whether in this metaphor meaning that you take an hour out, a day out, a week out, a month out, just to make sure you're all good before singing again, for lack of a better term.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming tonight and for sharing those really personal insights into your father. So we really appreciate it.